We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
Well, good morning, and welcome to the show that gives you everything you need for the NFL season, only on the Sports Box Network. I am Hampton Michaeletta, along with the panel that will get you through this beautiful time of the year. Brian the Ranger Retard, Tony Quigley, and Yo Tone, Anthony Medio. What up, guys?
Morning.
Morning. Ant, love that Miami hat. Not really.
Thanks,
but
man.
Anyway. You got it. Anyway, we will get to all the picks today, get to the review of yesterday, some two games we got to talk about yesterday, and some little bit of coaching news around the league. But we will all get to that. But first, Brian will hit you with a little bit of crowd play.
Guys, welcome to Sunday morning on the Sports Box. Check out our friends over at CrowdPlay, free app. You can download it through Apple App Store, Google Play. You can win cash and prizes by predicting the outcome of both real and virtual sporting events. They have a lot going on for the playoffs, so check them out. Use our code THEBOX at sign up, as you see down the bottom of your screen, and you can get 10 free points. If you're like me, you definitely could use the 10 free points because I think I'm still sitting at 10 points. So feel free to use the code there and get started off on the right foot.
What up, Kevin? We will get to. I'm going to say a big game for me today, later on today, but we'll talk about the games yesterday, some coaching issues, some all kinds of good stuff. Love your questions, love your comments. Keep them coming. We'll answer as many as we can, as often as we can. So, Brian, let's start. Let's roll through.
Well, the big story that just won't go away the last couple of days is the reports out of Houston that Deshaun Watson, quote unquote, just wants out. PFT was with this report, with some other outlets also reporting the same, that the relationship with Texans has reached a quote point of no return, which is wild because they really put their anchor on him. I mean, this was going to be the face of the franchise for the foreseeable future. Gave him a huge deal. They told him that, hey, we'll involve you in the search for our GM and the search for our coach. And they chose not to do that. And he's pretty mad about it. The reports were that he, on a scale of 1 to 10, he was about a 2 when the team traded with the Arizona Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver. However, he said he's a solid 10 right now.
Just a 2? I've been like a third.
He's a 10 on this one. So this is pretty crazy, guys. And look, there's going to be no shortage of suitors if this is the way that it goes. But if you're Houston, can you really trade him?
$140 million contract around his neck. I mean, can they trade him? That's the thing. I mean, that salary cap, a team has to go and be able to be in a position to really absorb it. I mean, the hot topic around is maybe Miami because they have multiple first-round picks and ship over Tua. With their defense as it is right now, if their salary cap can sustain that hit, it doesn't seem like an extremely bad idea depending on how Deshaun Watson played. But listen, his antics in Houston are just getting a little bit old and tiresome for me. Your top 5 quarterback is supposed to be this, supposed to be that. Your team normally goes by how the quarterback goes. And if you're such a good player, elevate the team around you and get some wins. And, and just cry like a little baby because you won out. I'm not buying it. And his comment about, when they traded DeAndre Hopkins, I was at a 2, now I'm at a 10. Nonsense. If you really wanted to get involved in the franchise, you would have been at a 10 when that happened, like everybody else in NFL world and in Houston Texans fans, I'm sure, especially. So, yeah, it just seems a little bit like a little bit too late, and I think he needs to, he just needs to play football and try to elevate his team.
Yeah, I agree, Tony. This is a professional business, and you get paid the big bucks to do what you got to do. You're acting like a total spoiled baby right now, and that doesn't look good. Moving on to a different team, and does that team want to put up with it? I know he's a talent. And I know he'll bring you, a lot of success and everything. But I mean, when does this stop? When does you make another move and he wants to get involved, or when does this happen? And you want to get involved? That to me is a telltale sign he hasn't matured yet in the NFL. A great player, solid quarterback, but just hasn't matured yet, and that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say it because I need him on my team. If possible.
Could have had him,
but it's come out now that they're trying to appease him and get him involved in the head coaching search. They want to match him up with the right head coach, But now the pressure is being applied to the Texans. I mean, all these players, Randy Moss coming out yesterday, and other players coming out, Andre Johnson. So the pressure's applied to the Texans. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I actually don't see him going anywhere. I think he stays. But the pressure's being put on just from the outside.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I mean, the Texans are not without blame here. If you tell the guy we're going to involve you in the process, and then you don't involve him in the process after committing so much money to him, like, you know, egg's on your face here. Like, he's rightfully mad if they went back on their word. I don't think he's necessarily going about it the right way, but at the same time, there's two sides here. I mean, he never said, oh, well, you have to hire the guy I tell you to hire, but he just wanted to be part of the process. And at the end of the day, if he's committed to that team, you should want him to be part of the process. I'm sure that, you know, if the situation were replicated in Kansas City or in Buffalo or any of these other teams, you know, with premier quarterbacks that are going to be there for a long time, they'd want to be part of that process because it has to mesh. It has to work. And the worst thing you can do is bring in a bad fit. So, like, I understand his anger. I just think he's going about it the wrong way. I don't think you can force your way out of town. I don't think it's going to work either. But if they decided to make a move, I mean, look, we've said this, an elite quarterback is one of the hardest things to find. I mean, you have guys who are okay, and you can be okay with those guys. But when you have that position, you're in the mix every year. The Chiefs are going to be in the mix every year as long as Mahomes is there.
Let me ask,
for the most part with Rodgers too. So
let me ask you guys this: do you think when that whole contract thing was brought up, because supposedly it was brought to him in the contract that he would be a part of, you know, a move like this if it were to happen and things like that? Do you think if that wasn't spoken to him, that was a deal breaker, that he wouldn't have signed the deal?
Nah, money talks, man. You're throwing all that money in front of him. He sees those zeros. You're signing.
Right. So basically, Anthony, Houston created the culture. They got him involved and want him as part of the decisions to kind of sweeten the deal a little bit. But like Brian said, then they go back on their word and kind of not getting him involved. And now they're backtracking and trying to appease him. That's a recipe for disaster to me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this has been happening for years with Houston, though. They've been bundling stuff up for years. I mean, it's just a lot leading up to this.
Well, where does Deshaun Watson get off, first of all, thinking that he's qualified to be a GM and run the show? This isn't the NBA. He's not LeBron James. Right. All right. So, I mean, come on now. Let's get a little dose of reality. You know, who Houston hired this, you know, for the GM is he's very, you know, he has a very solid resume. You know, comes from a good organization. I mean, so did Bill O'Brien, and things don't work out. So it's not like they, you know, it's not like they brought some guy off the street, you know, and next thing you know, Nick Nazario is running the Houston organization because he thinks he should do a better job. And but you know, and now Deshaun Watson I don't think Deshaun Watson actually has a valid gripe. Bill O'Brien was an absolute disaster. I think everybody acknowledges that. Houston acknowledges, everybody. Deshaun Watson should acknowledge it. But now, since they're trying to make a change, I don't see where his actual gripe is. You know, I mean, what's Deshaun Watson going to go out and personally interview GM, who is in essential his boss? It doesn't work that way. This isn't the NBA. You know, I think this is a lot to do about nothing. And if Deshaun Watson really wanted to really help Houston and affect his team, he would do what Brady did for so many years, and you know, he'd take a more team-friendly contract. But he didn't. He took the money. He secured the bag. You know, live your life, ball out in Houston with your dime girlfriend, and throw some football, score some touchdowns, and lose football. But hey, that's the path he chose. Maybe you should have thought about that before signing that massive deal.
No, absolutely right. I mean, you know, Brady is the model. Now, again, he also was married to a model, so I mean that did tend to help situation there from a financial standpoint.
Breaking news: she's overrated.
But you know, I don't disagree with you, and I think what's going to end up happening here is to appease him. He might handpick the next head coach.
No,
like that might be like a way that and I'm not saying that that's right either, but I'm saying it's like now it's like you have the situation you created because you told him we're going to listen to you.
If you're so going off that theory, Brian, if you're Deshaun Watson, who is the coach that you would predict to bring in?
I would think he'd push for Bieniemy.
Why?
I would think he would push for as much of an offensive head coach as possible.
But why push for Bieniemy? What is okay? First of all, if people think that Bieniemy is the orchestrator of some magical offense in Kansas City, that's been Andy Reid's offense for fucking 30 years since he's been in the league. Okay, all he's done is sit there and, you know, he's the hot topic. But let me see Eric Bieniemy go and get a job, okay, without Andy Reid actually running the damn offense and without Patrick Mahomes. Guys look really good with Hall of Fame quarterbacks when they're calling their plays.
Yeah, Nagy.
I mean, just listen. Josh McDaniels is a name. He's supposed to be flying in Philly and everything like that. Wonderful here, wonderful there. Yeah, he was awesome with Tom Brady. I mean, it was that Patriots offense was lighting up the scoreboard this year. I mean, so Bieniemy, I think, is he's a hot candidate, but he's a little bit overrated in my opinion because everything is just too perfect of a situation for him.
No, I don't disagree with you, but I think the case has been made that there have been coaches with, I don't want to say less pedigree, but guys who have had less success in similar positions that are getting jobs. I think he's been passed over a little bit, probably too much. And I wouldn't rule out part of that being the fact that the Chiefs are so good that they've been in deep playoff runs, and some teams just don't want to wait. Some teams want to go hire that guy, and they're there right now. We'll talk about the Lions, for example, and Dan Campbell. Now they're going to wait for him, but some people just don't want to wait. They want to hire their guy and move on. So he might just be a victim of his own team's success because they just have deep playoff runs.
True, but my initial point though is what is Deshaun Watson's personal relationship with Eric Bieniemy, where he would say, "I want this guy," like all four of us right now could be an NFL owner, hire Eric Bieniemy, and the entire internet will say what a great hire it is. That's not rocket science. So when you're looking at it, okay, Deshaun, great, you hired Eric. Like I mean, what does he want? Credit? I don't understand.
If they need anything in Houston, they need a defensive-minded head coach because the offense isn't their problem. So I mean, the enemy wouldn't even be the answer, in my opinion.
Well, what they need is some more talent, and
that's what I'm saying. If that defensive-minded head coach could bring in some defensive talent, I mean,
their offense they put up points all year offensively. I mean, they just couldn't keep up. They couldn't finish on defense. I mean, if anything, the culture needs to change to a defensive side. That would even be a good hire.
And I agree with you guys, especially Tony, with the whole thing with, why does Deshaun Watson have to be on this? I think he just feels from his standpoint, the offense, like Anthony said, they're putting up. The defense is letting them down, and he wants to be a part of this because he's frustrated. But again, it's not his department. This is why they bring in a GM to do his thing, and this is why they have certain specialty guys to do their things. Just do your job the best you can, Deshaun, and leave the GM to the owner, and that's it. End of story.
And quick to your point, maybe they want it to be like the NBA. Maybe they're looking for that kind of control because they see it elsewhere. They see these big deals that are being signed. I mean, you always see football players, like you see what a LeBron signs for, or a Kawhi signs for. These guys aren't making that, and they're like, "Wow, we should be making this much money," because it's the way they see it. So,
well, that's their players' union's problem, and it's been their players' union problem forever. I mean, the players' union is ridiculous with their non-guaranteed contracts, and it's gotten better with the guaranteed money over the last 10 years. But I mean, Major League Baseball and the NBA contracts and their security is much stronger than what that NFL
they know
concessions.
They know that Houston they don't want to get rid of this guy. I mean, they put a lot of investment in him, and they lose him and they're almost in blow up mode. I mean, they got to blow up the whole team at that point, but
he is the only reason that team is viable.
Yeah.
Some comments coming in. Ryan Leach, big Bills fan. We'll talk about that. Wouldn't it be something if the Patriots snatch him up? There's Bill lurching with his OJ in the corner. Ryan also says players make a power play, usually never win. Anthony Morella with his weekly Wentz stinks. Obviously, that's
what a shock.
We know what his thoughts are there. Garth, we'll talk about some of the coaching changes coming up. And we'll start with, I guess, the most high-profile one. Jaguars hire former Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer, his first time coaching in the NFL. And, I think the immediate comparison comes to, is this Nick Saban with the Dolphins? Is this Steve Spurrier in Washington? Or is it Pete Carroll in Seattle? And, these high-profile guys that come up from the college ranks, it doesn't really always work out. And how much of the strength that they had in the college ranks is due to their ability to recruit all-star, five-star players from around the country. You don't have that in the NFL. So, I mean, just quickly, you've been a vocal critic of this guy. You have your own nickname for him, which is pretty popular. But he's walking into a situation with the number one overall pick in the draft, a lot of cap space, and a team that has – frankly, low expectations because they've never really gotten to the point where they could even be relevant. So,
except when they won playoff games a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
with Blake Bortles.
every blind squirrel finds a nut. But just your thoughts on the hire there, the fit, and can he succeed?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, can he succeed? He'll if he doesn't, he'll be out of there real quick. You know what I'm saying?
4 years, I give him 4 years. He'll be out.
There's Jacob on
the.
the.
I mean, you have the keys to your franchise. You're about to hand to Trevor Lawrence, who is what some people say generational quarterback. You have Urban Meyer out there, who I don't believe he's ever coached a generational quarterback or a quarterback with talent that has NFL talent. I mean, when he was in college, none of his quarterbacks from Ohio State panned out at all. When he was in Florida, you had Tim Tebow. You had Cam Newton briefly there, and Cam had a couple good seasons there. Well, he transferred to Auburn and did his thing there. So there's no direct correlation from Urban Meyer to some quarterback guru, genius, or anything like that. And then the rumors that he's bringing in Scott Linehan as his offensive coordinator is even more troubling. I mean, we talked about people in situations like Eric Bieniemy and what it is. I mean, Scott Linehan has been pretty bad in the NFL for his last few stints, and it's pretty much like a failing up kind of scenario. So I mean, now you're giving Scott Linehan the keys to Trevor Lawrence, and that's Urban Meyer's first decision. That just seems extremely troubling. I just don't see a fit there. I mean, when you're not able to pay your players in tattoos and girls and stuff like that, because NFL players could already. I just don't know. And listen. Ryan Clark this week, he's been. I was pretty surprised how vocal a national guy was, in criticizing Urban Meyer. But they really, he kind of bashed him worse than I probably ever have, and I think it's well deserved. And I just don't see this as if you're an NFL player in NFL circles, I don't think you see this as a positive move for Jacksonville franchise, which is a great situation, but.
Question from Jacob: Does anybody think he'll take Fields at 1, or does he have to go with Lawrence?
Absolutely not. Fields' inconsistency has tanked him, to no end. Fields isn't even in discussion for number 1 pick. I mean, after the Clemson game, but then he showed the inconsistency against Alabama, and he wasn't good against Alabama. He was good against Clemson. But if you watch Justin Fields all season, bad game against Northwestern, good game against this, bad game here, and they only had 6 games. So I don't even think it's in the realm of possibility. But if Urban Meyer does that, it would just be comical.
Drew from the Buzz, hope he doesn't quit.
Well, yeah, he'll quit. He'll definitely quit. When times get tough, that's what he does.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't have a problem in the NFL if he quit or he pulled his shenanigans. But when you're a college coach and you're recruiting young men to come play for you, and they look at you, and sometimes they even look at you as a father figure, and you want to just straight lie to them, I have health issues, I have this, and then next thing you know, you're at Ohio State.
Yep, exactly.
It's cowardice. It's cowardice. It shows you're not a leader of young men. NFL players get paid whatever you want to go screw them over. Go ahead, be my guest. But you don't do that to college, and that's why I have an issue with Urban Meyer, or Urban Liar, as I like to call him.
Urban Slime.
Yeah, this guy's a crumb from day one, because not only did he leave Florida and say, yeah, I'm going to take a little break for a while, I have some things going on. All of a sudden, the Ohio State job opened up, and hey, let me jump on that board. Listen, they got a big. Go ahead,
He left Florida before shit hit the fan. I mean, he had all kinds of shit going on in Florida. Those guys were out of control, and he got up and left before shit hit the fan. So he bails everywhere he goes. He finds an excuse. I mean, I mean, what the Jags are banking on is kind of like a Cowboys situation in the '90s, bringing in Jimmy Johnson and having all the picks and the number 1 quarterback. But I mean, I don't know. I don't see it with this guy. I'm not a fan of his either.
Not that I'm going to
his actions.
Not that I'm going to defend Urban Meyer here, but to your point, he left before things happened. I mean, Carroll gets kind of a pass for getting out of USC before things went downhill there too. And it's like
they all get a pass, Brian. It's
do.
One of the biggest scams in college sports. I mean, look at like J. Cole says, cheat on my hose like Calipari in Memphis. I mean, it's
the players get screwed. The players,
the system is Yeah, the system is poor how it's set up. They changed it recently in the last couple of years to allow the kids more freedom. But, I mean, the huge Hugh Freeze situation in Mississippi. I mean, listen, two of the best young wide receivers in the NFL right now, A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf, all of a sudden, are studs, and they play for Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, yeah.
The top 3 recruits go to Ole Miss. I mean, you don't think nonsense is going on there. And Mike, I know you're a big Florida State fan, and Florida State a few years ago had a number 1 recruit in the country go there. And I know for a fact what he got as his package. And he's a brilliant kid, brilliant young man, and he's extremely successful. But what he got as his package, and he wasn't a kid in need; he was very well off financially, is just comical. Mm-hmm. And it happens time and time again. And then, the coach that recruited him, guess what? He's not there no more.
Nope.
He'll sit out a little bit.
It comes down to the owner in Jacksonville. He's not afraid to spend, and he wanted a big time guy with a big name, and that's what he got in Urban Meyer. But the problem is that, and I said it before, with the problem with college coaches when they go to the NFL, it's when you're in college, it's yes sir, no sir. They pay attention to what you're doing and the recruiting aspect. But when you go to the NFL, it's I ain't gonna listen to you. I'm making $4 million a year. If his culture's not here and we're not winning, I ain't listening to you. Same thing with Shiano when he went to the Bucs. It was the same way. Shiano went down there with a great reputation for Rutgers, turning programs around. He went down there. People told him to scratch their ass because his system wasn't working in the NFL. So, I don't know if it's going to turn that quick for Urban Meyer, but I'm going to say it right now. I give Urban Meyer 4 years. He's either going to quit or he's going to be out down there.
Has potential to be a disaster.
Shiano for another one.
Yeah.
Another hire, which was not so much of a surprise because the man's name's been kind of circled around head coaching spots for a while, is Robert Saleh, the new head coach of the New York Jets, former defensive coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers. He is expected to bring Mike LaFleur, Matt's brother, from San Fran to be his offensive coordinator. And I think the first question with that now is, all this talk was, and this was obviously prior to them losing the 1 pick, was, okay, they're going to get Trevor Lawrence and they're going to fell to 2. Oh, they're going to get Justin Fields. And Tony, you bring it up, he's been inconsistent. Given the fact that you're bringing in this offensive coordinator, could we be in a situation now, which Mike has been advocating for a while, where rather than hit the reset button and bring in another quarterback, that you keep the one that you have and actually try to use effective coaching to get the most out of him? Does this hire and the people he's bringing with him change your view as to what they should be doing it to?
You addressing that to me, bro?
Yep.
I love the hire. What he did with that defense and the defensive line in the 49ers. I mean, who had some, obviously their quarterback was out most of the season and tons of issues on defense. You hired a first Muslim head coach in NFL history, which is a nice sign for progression. And you give him a young, hungry defensive line, especially a star like Quentin Williams. Quentin Williams was probably a top 5 defensive lineman, in the league this year. And you just compare that with what he did in the for the 49ers. I think it's a great fit. If I'm the Jets, listen, Justin Fields hasn't showed me enough to say that he's truly hitting out the park. Zach Wilson from BYU, a lot of people love. He's flying up draft boards. I've seen him mocked to the Jets a few times. But I'm still on the Sam Darnold camp, where I think if they surround him with enough weapons and build up a competent team, I think he can play some winning football. And when you look at that division, you got the Bills, who the Bills are a solid team. Yet to be determined how this season ends, but I don't think that they're running away from the pack, so to speak. I think that Miami was right there. Tua hasn't looked great, so I'm not putting there. And then you have New England, which could be a mess real quick. So I don't think it's time to hit the panic button at all and get rid of Darnold, who has shown some flashes. So let's see what the kid could do. With a competent head coach, because Adam Gase. I mean, that's your favorite buddy to pickle him, Brian. And if they could get that defense shored up, I'm sure. I see Brian looking at his computer. Yep, I knew that was coming.
You knew that was coming.
So great hire by the Jets, and let's hopefully it works out.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everyone here. I like the hire. I mean, this guy was the hot name. He's probably the hottest name out there, and they got the guy. And I think he's going to bring some attitude, some different swagger to that team. And I think you do roll with Darnold. I mean, I believe, is he still on his contract? I mean, he's cheap. Keep on him, and then you have so many options with the pick they have. I mean, you got Joe Douglas making picks now. I think they're going in the right direction. I think it was a real solid hire. I mean, I could see the Jets competing in a year or two, or about 2 years, 3 years maybe.
But I think the question then becomes like, what do you do with the pick? I mean, obviously Sewell's going to be there, and I think if you look back to the year all the quarterbacks went, where Baker went and Sam went, arguably I could really make a case that the best pick in that whole top of that draft area, I mean, outside of Josh Allen, obviously, would have been Quentin Nelson, from Indianapolis. So, he wasn't a sexy pick, but those picks are so important. And if you do intend to keep Darnold there, I think he's a phenomenal fit. I mean, I think obviously the best offensive lineman in the draft, unless you're going for skill position. I mean, obviously he should be at the top of anybody's list. But I guess if you're the Jets and you're not taking a quarterback, and I say this every year to teams that are at the top that are not taking a quarterback, does it make sense to trade down because you're going to have a quarterback hungry team that's willing to basically do what the Jets did for the Colts a couple of years ago, where they gave up a significant value to move up from 6 to 3 to go get a quarterback they didn't even know was going to be there. So there's going to be value in that pick to a team that wants a quarterback. If you're the Jets, do you stay there and just take the guy that you want and not risk anything? Or do you look at your roster and say, I've got so many holes I have to fill as a new regime coming in with obviously you're not going to like anybody coming in because you want to change probably everything. Does it make sense to trade down, really figuring that at the very least, the team at 3 and at 5, because we're going to talk about the team at 4, but the team at 3 and 5 probably isn't wanting a quarterback either. So you run the risk of them taking a guy you might like.
I think, okay, Tony.
Well, trading down for the Jets, obviously, I mean, it's easier said than done always. But when you're looking at the Jets, Justin Fields' lack of performance and there not being a stud number 2 prospect, like when we were talking about, a couple of weeks ago, Justin Fields was really like, teams will be, lighting their pants on fire to get up there to number 2 to pick them if the Jets didn't want them and they wanted to go a different way. I don't see that happening now. That's what I'm saying. I mean, a team like Atlanta sitting at 4 is also might be looking for a quarterback. And what's that? Miami's right in front of them too. So it's like there might be some onus for a team to try to jump ahead of them guys, but for who though? So I mean, so how value is that trading down, and how bad? Like, I don't know if I'm going to pass on a guy like Penei Sewell or one of the stud receivers, Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith, just to trade down and acquire more picks because, they did draft Mekhi Becton last season. If they can put Penei Sewell with him, listen, and if you don't have Darnold, at least you have 2 stud offensive linemen to put your quarterback behind next year. Yeah.
Because if you stick, you're picking high again.
Right.
I think Cincinnati's going to do everything they can to try to get the lineman from Oregon. And yeah, I mean, the Jets need some offense, man. If they could scoop up one of these wide receivers and he's right there in front of you, I think you got to go for it.
I think the Jets are right here for making a breakthrough. They got the coach, they got the GM. They just have to now make the draft complete now. I think they can go one of 2 ways. They can take that pick and move down. I know it's not a popular pick, but move down, get a ton for it, and make picks, offensive line and maybe defense. Or like Tony says, stay where you are, take Smith from Alabama, and there's your wide receiver that you're giving weapon to. But you got to protect Darnold. If you're going to stay with him, you got to protect. The guy was running for his life last year. No quarterback in the league is going to ever learn or get better when you got a line like that and the guy's rolling out of the pocket every 2 seconds because he has no time to do anything, to look at to read defenses.
I want to mention what Frankie DeMeo put on here as far as trade Darnold number 1 for Deshaun Watson. I hate that idea, Frankie, and I'm going to tell you why. I mean, listen, obviously doesn't make the Jets instantly better, absolutely. But you're acquiring that big contract. You're trading Darnold, who still might become something as far as a quarterback, and you're getting a high pick. And that contract might hamper them rebuilding. Yeah. So you're the team that needs to rebuild. If you put Deshaun Watson on the Jets right now,
they're the same team.
Exactly.
Well, no, they're not the same team.
Well,
they're not that much.
Listen, Deshaun Watson is a huge upgrade over Sam Darnold. True.
Sure.
But
Sure, I'm
where
talking
did
about
it
the
go?
surroundings.
Yeah. Oh,
Surroundings.
exactly. Okay. Yeah.
You have no money to buy defense, Tony, and I think
They're not a playoff team. They're not a playoff team with Deshaun Watson. So
Right.
you just changed helmets from the Houston to the Jets. I mean,
Yeah.
But I'll give you a reason as to why I don't think the Jets should be looking wide receiver in the first round of the draft.
no.
Allen Robinson, Corey Davis, Will Fuller, Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, among others, are all free agents. And the Jets have the second most cap space in the league behind the Jacksonville Jaguars. So to me, if I want to go bring in a wide receiver, I'll go pay him. I don't want to waste this pick on something that I won't be able to get later. Sewell, for example, is something I'm not going to be able to go sign. I'm not going to be able to go sign somebody to go catch footballs. Additionally, and I'm just a big believer in this, a wide receiver is only as good as the quarterback throwing the ball. If you can't get the ball there, no one's going to catch it. So I need to fix Darnold first. I need to get that taken care of.
There's also the thing is they also took Denzel Mims last year too.
Right.
So you can't invest that much in the wide receiver position. Listen, if Denzel Mims pans out, Jamison Crowder is a solid wide receiver. You have Brashard Perriman in there. Braxton Berrios, who's actually been a nice little slot addition for them as well. Your boy down there from the Ant. Yep. So it's not like it's a complete dumpster fire at the wide receiver position. And you already did invest a first round pick in that spot. Sewell, the difference between Penway, so I'm not getting into too much in draft stuff, but the difference between Penway and Sewell at his position is probably greater than anybody besides Trevor Lawrence at their position. There's not another stud left tackle out there that is going to be out, that you could count on. Like, so it's not like last year's draft. Last year's draft, you've seen so many offensive linemen and offensive tackles fly off the board. I think is a top 10, top 15. That's not this year's draft.
I think definitely you trade the pick down then, and you move on from there, because this team needs multiple picks, and they're not a playoff team after one solid pick in the top 10. They need multiple picks, multiple positions. And they got to work on that defense because they can't stop anybody right now.
Yeah, I mean, they got there's good corners out there. I mean, their defensive backfield is an issue. So
yeah,
I mean,
that's fine to start.
If Denver isn't in love with Drew Lock and they decided they want to move on with him, that might be a place where they could trade down and get a corner like a Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley or one of those stud guys. And I know as a Cowboy fan, if they did that at 9. That would break my heart a little bit while we're sitting at 10, but that's how it goes.
Shouldn't be sitting at 10. Next question. Another Atlanta Falcons hire former Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. I asked Tom Brady what pick the Falcons have, and he said that they have the 4th pick in the draft. So the question here is, it's another coaching change for a team here, which it's weird because I don't think they're in a position to go full rebuild because they have commitments to older guys like a Matt Ryan, like a Julio Jones, guys who frankly have not won jack in Atlanta, but they're committed there contractually. So what are they going to try to do here? I mean, is this a situation where they could go quarterback at 4 and just blow it up and start over? Or is this something where they're bringing in Arthur Smith because they think they want to get the most out of what they have, and they think that they're closer to returning to where they think they could be, like again, an 8, 9, 10 win team, than having to blow it up? So, Meads, I'll start with you here. I don't really know what to expect now, because you can make the case that they should take a quarterback at 4, especially if Justin Fields falls. You should absolutely make that case. But at the same time, what the hell do you do then with your older players that you are obligated to?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot. I think what they're thinking is they're going to stick with Matt Ryan in that offense and just try to get Arthur Smith to bring that offense from Tennessee over. The thing is that it's just like they need so much defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's really tough in Atlanta.
Right now. They need defensive help bad.
Yeah, they really do. I really think they're just going to roll with the same offensive players. I mean, I can't see them get rid of Matt Ryan right now. I mean, he's not playing horrible. He didn't play horrible.
You're the Falcons. Could you trade out of that pick? Possibility.
The problem,
a little bit. You never
know. The problem with Ryan is next year starts huge cap numbers. His cap number next year is $41 million. His cap number the next year after is $41 million. I mean, yeah, they would really bite the bullet next year, but the year after, they might consider moving on. I think they're really only obligated for one more year. There's nothing guaranteed after next season. So it wouldn't shock me if they go quarterback, not play him for a year because you just can't because of the situation, and then move on from Matt Ryan at age 36. And I think that that's a direction you want to go. That's feasible. They're not going to play him next year, though.
No, I feel like their owner's the type of owner that is very loyal to their players, and he was someone that would let Matt Ryan ride out his contract. I could see that.
Speaking, it's funny you bring up owners because I'm going a little breaking news that I think that we might have the first son play for an owner, because I don't know if you guys realize this, but Arthur Smith is the son of the owner of FedEx. So his dad actually has the, with an overvaluation,
right?
a multi-billion-dollar valuation could possibly maybe buy the Falcons and the son coach for it. That would be interesting. Yeah,
that'd be faithful.
Well,
Julio's contract is huge.
Owner's Home Depot guy, right?
Yeah,
Arthur Blank. Yeah,
Arthur Blank's Home Depot.
Yeah. So, but as far as the Falcons situation, I thought the hiring was a little bizarre because their personnel and what they do in Tennessee is completely different. I mean, you don't have a Derrick Henry type player. I mean, Todd Gurley is a shell of himself, although he had flashes game here and there. Nobody else there. So, I mean, and you don't have a run-first offensive line built either. So, I mean, everything was, precipitated about that passing offense. And you have, I think Julio's maybe like $15 million salary cap hit for next few years.
Actually, I'll tell you exactly. His cap number next year is actually 23, and then it drops to 19 and 19. Then he's done.
It drops to 19. Oh, that's nice of him. Yeah,
that's crazy.
And that's probably the highest of any receiver. So you have the highest cap hit by receiver, and then you bring in.
But also they're the third highest over the cap in the league. So behind the Saints, who are a total disaster, and the Eagles, who are like kind of a total disaster, they're there at 24.4 over cap too. So they got their own problems to figure out from a cap perspective. Moving on from Jones or Ryan doesn't really fix that because you still leave dead cap on top.
Yeah, I mean, there are some teams with cap. Maybe they bring Julio to try to down to Jacksonville with all that cap space that they have, or make some kind of move down there. Help Trevor Lawrence develop. But it's just what Arthur Smith does, and offensively, it doesn't seem like a great mesh for what they do in Atlanta right now in the personnel. But if they can figure out a running game, they could pound the ball. That might help Matt Ryan immensely. Not put everything on his shoulders. Try to make him more into a Ryan Tannehill game management kind of situation, and just try to hit the shots with Calvin Ridley and some of the other receivers down there, like a Russell Gage, and Julio. I mean, they're in a tough spot because they're not getting by Tampa Bay. They're not getting by New Orleans anytime soon. That's a major issue there. But a complete rebuild right now, they're in a tough spot. If they could shed contracts and salary, then you're looking for a rebuild in maybe 2 years, because that's how long it actually take to actually see an effective game plan. And if Arthur Smith's the guy to do it, good luck to him. But I don't know if I'd want to be the coach that has to do a complete rebuild by getting rid of these salaries.
Last but not least on the coaching side, so this isn't unofficial yet because we obviously don't have final okay on this one, but all reports that the Detroit Lions are poised to hire Saints assistant coach Dan Campbell as their new head coach. He played with the Lions from 06 to 08. He was an interim head coach in Miami where he had a 5-7 record. He has at least some experience at some point in head coaching. It's an interesting hire, though. They go from defense to offense. Obviously, Patricia was a complete and utter failure, and you can't just de-emphasize that enough. Not a sexy hire. Like, I thought they'd be on Soleil personally. He's from the area originally, but that didn't work out for them. It's an interesting spot, similar to Atlanta, in which you have commitments to older players, specifically Matt Stafford. So guys, just your read here. I mean, were you surprised this is the direction that they went? I was not really thinking they would be going this direction personally, but here we are.
I didn't even hear Dan Campbell's name in any circles. I mean, this is just, to me, my instant reaction was like, this is a Lions hire. You know what I mean? It's just like
Overthinking it again. Overthinking.
Yeah, I mean, I know this guy's like a tough as nails coach. He's real hard. I mean, he demands respect and hard play. I mean, I don't know if that's going to resonate in Detroit, but yeah, I don't know. My first reaction was like, oh, this is a Lions hire.
Well, to me, I mean, the Dan Campbell hiring, it's one of them things where you see certain types of media personalities and players and demographics get upset about, your the old boy network, the retread club, that kind of stuff. What has Dan Campbell done in his career to deserve this opportunity? What is he, shown? I mean, he was the interim head coach down in Miami, and for a year, a couple, it wasn't great. I guess maybe a personality, maybe he's a great interview. But he seems a little bit similar to the Eric Bieniemy, but Eric Bieniemy is getting a lot of love and a lot of publicity. But Dan Campbell, what is he, the assistant head coach and offense coordinator for the Saints, right?
I don't think he's the offensive coordinator, actually. I'm almost positive I don't think he's the offensive coordinator.
That's not his title?
I didn't know if he was an offensive guy or not.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's the
tight ends coach.
He's the assistant head coach and tight ends coach.
So basically, he gets Peyton coffee, and that's pretty much the.
Pretty much, yeah.
So what is? I mean, okay. Well, first of all, let's look at the tight end unit for the New Orleans Saints and their effectiveness. They're underwhelming at best. Okay. You got Drew Brees, your assistant head coach. Now, how much power do you actually have under Sean Payton? I mean, yeah. So I mean, it has to be some tie somewhere. I mean, he must have hit it off with the Lions in his stint there when he played, but it just there's no real draw for Dan Campbell to get this position. It's not like was a hot name. As Ant mentioned, there wasn't even a blip on the radio about hot coaching circles. Like, oh, Dan Campbell. It just seems a weird hire, which is pretty much on point with the Lions, exactly like Jacob Littell just says.
Maybe he pulled up in a Ford F-150 like, this is our guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
you're driving a Ford. We love you,
Mike.
No, same thing. I mean, I when I heard the name Dan Campbell too, I was kind of thrown back a little bit with all the names going out there right now. To bring this guy in, he must have had some kind of connection to somebody on the team. That's why they brought him in and liked him somehow. It's kind of an obscure pick. I mean, you're picking an assistant coach from the Saints. I mean, I know the Saints have been a good team in the past, but why you're giving this guy an opportunity after you just went through the whole thing with Patricia, and you wouldn't do your due diligence a little bit more? I think get a better name on there. But hey, listen, I could be wrong. Dan Campbell might be the guy that turns Detroit around, but again, another Detroit hire.
Right.
So
the remaining openings that are left are the Eagles, the Chargers, and the Texans. I would say I think we're all in agreement that the most attractive job there is the Chargers. And I'm kind of surprised it's still open, although they think they're waiting for Brian Daboll or Daboll, I don't know how that name's pronounced, the coordinator in Buffalo. I think they're waiting for him to move on, has some connections to the front office there. So I think that's the lead guy for that role. But frankly, I mean, the other two are dumpster fires. And let's just be honest. I mean, we've talked about the Texans at length today as to what that even looks like. Upset quarterback, bad situation. The Eagles have two quarterbacks. Maybe none of them are actually any good, with a bunch of cap problems. And the owner telling the old coach what to do. Coach not happy. Offensive line getting there complaining about the quarterback. That's its own disaster. So, I mean, who do you see taking these roles? Rumors the Eagles might fill from within.
Well, real quick, I just want to say that the Eagles, it's like a turnstile at interviews right now. I mean, they interviewed like 6 guys in the last 2 days. It's
they got there, yeah. They got there.
A lot of interviews too, though. I mean, let's be honest about it. I was out with some guys who were talking Wednesday night, and they were all hopped up about the Eagles interviewing Robert Saleh. I'm like, he's having dinner with the Jets ownership tomorrow. They're a video conference interview, which is another thing that kind of helps a lot of these interview processes, because they're doing a lot of these video interviews, so you could bang them out a lot. It's not the typical whining, dining whole process about trying to get some of these coaches in there. You can bang them out pretty quick. So I think that's what one of the reasons is. But once a guy's having dinner with the ownership, and if they have a meeting the next day scheduled, you're not going to get them. I mean, Josh McDaniels rumored, Kellen Moore, the list goes on and on. Deuce Staley, I mean, has been a name that a lot of people around here are trying to pump up, but I don't know if Deuce has ever had any real control about it. So that would be interesting. And I don't know if bringing somebody in internally promoting Deuce like that would be something wise for Eagles organization, because I mean, there could already be some ingrained relationships that might be strained. So probably just kind of get in somebody outside source.
Quick, isn't it wild that all we've heard for so many years is how much of a meddling owner the Dallas Cowboys have, and yet here we are, and there is just a disaster within the Eagles front office. And is Deuce Staley Jeffrey Lurie's version of Jason Garrett? An extension of his hand, because he's been there pretty much his entire career, came up in the organization, was there for a long time, he's with the coaching staff. He's going to do what Jeff tells him to do, which is just full circle here. Like, I don't like Gary either.
Any coach that goes there has to be willing to do what they want him to do. They got, what I mean? So, I mean, what coach is going to want to go there and be told what to do? It's obvious what was going on. And then coach, and then try to coach an uncoachable quarterback. So, if I'm a coach, I don't want to go. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't even take an interview.
Well, for what Frankie DeMay is saying, as far as like the keys to the car, listen, there's not a ton of NFL coaches that are being hired to have the keys to the car.
Right.
That's why you have these GM searches and everything. I mean, there's not one coach that we talked about that was hired in these last things. Arthur Smith and so they don't have the keys to the car. They're definitely have to be subservient to the GM. Not everybody's subservient to the owner, but they have to listen to the GM, and they have varying inputs. I mean, but if you see here what the Eagles situation is, I mean, they consulted Wentz with draft picks and player movement and stuff like that. So, I mean, how do you function as a head coach when the quarterback has more say to you in certain aspects? That's just a complete mess. So I like Deuce. I've met him a few times. I know he was really upset about getting passed over for the last opportunity. But it's one of them things where it just might not be the right fit or the right time for him. I mean, whoever takes this job, you have to walk into that stadium every day and look at a statue of the coach you're replacing. Whether that statue is deserved, and I think it was a little bit much just to have a statue so quick. I mean, but when you haven't, you've only won one Super Bowl. I mean, I guess that's kind of how things roll. But so now you're walking in there. It's just it's from top to bottom. It's a bad situation. You got to. A guy like Dan Campbell or something like that, it's kind of like, we'll take him for a couple of years. Yeah. Exactly.
I think it's going to end up being Deuce, because they're not going to be able to find the right person, and it's just going to fall back on Deuce.
You might be right about that, Eric.
That's what I could see. That's what I could see happening, is everything's just going to fall back on Deuce, and they're going to lay it on him, and then when shit hits the fan with him or the team, then Deuce is the horrible coach. Like, it's a no-win situation, really.
Yeah.
For Deuce.
He's the guy that's been there. It's going to listen to the coach, listen to what they're going to do, and like you said, Anthony, when everything goes wrong, he's going to be the fall guy again. So of course he wants the job. It's an opportunity. Sure. Everybody wants it, but I just feel like it's no win. I mean, he could be the savior, and then everyone's going to turn on him.
Yeah, well, the Eagles today, they just reported that they're interviewing Josh McDaniels. Who has, obviously McDaniels has his track record, and they put out to Jacob Pytel's request. The Eagles actually put out a request to interview Eric Bieniemy. It has not been granted yet.
Yeah.
So
I don't want you to go there.
Yeah, Andy Reid might be in his ear trying to tell him not
to. Stay, my son. I want to protect you.
Yeah, now's not.
And Texans.
I think Bieniemy ends up in Houston. That's just my read right now. I just think that that's going to be something where they find a way to appease Watson by getting him his guy. And every indication is like, this is somebody that he wants. It's just my read.
They're bringing in Leslie Frazier, the defense coordinator for Houston. For Buffalo. They're bringing in Leslie Frazier as a candidate. So we said earlier.
He was a coach before. He was a coach before, right?
Yeah.
The Vikings, right?
That's right.
Vikings. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think with all said and done, why wouldn't Bieniemy want to go to the Chargers if they're not set on DeBoll from the Buffalo? If that's not a done deal, he has history there. It's a better situation. But
I'd be a great fit for Bieniemy, I think, is to go to the Chargers. That'd be really good.
If I had to predict these openings, I would say Chargers get the guy from Buffalo. Texans, I think Bieniemy and the Texans would probably appease everybody, like you said, bro.
You think Doug Peterson's still a question in some places?
He was apparently taking a call to go be offensive coordinator in Seattle. They don't run the ball enough, right?
Yeah, he'll be a coordinator somewhere, maybe.
Listen, Doug Peterson has a lot of love from a lot of NFL circles. If you've seen people coming out and talking to him and everything like that. But does Doug Peterson go to the Texans and make Deshaun Watson happy? No, Deshaun Watson would not be happy with that. And the other two positions, obviously, he's not returning to the Eagles, and the Chargers don't seem like the fit. So, he'll take a step back for a little bit, I think.
Wait for a spot he wants. He can. For me, I think it's Bieniemy in Houston. I think it's Brian Daboll in LA. And honestly, if it's not Deuce Staley, keep your eye out for Mike Kafka. That's been a name you heard before when this whole thing first started. It's a link to Kansas City. I think it'd be a disaster, so I'm rooting for it. So, it would just be one of those things again.
Former Eagle quarterback.
Yeah, it's just listen. I think they want someone they can control. They're already
man.
All the reports out of NFL Network are that they're telling prospective candidates that they want to bring Wentz back and have him start next year, which again, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I always thought that was the likely scenario because of the way the contract was. So, and everything that they sunk into the guy. I'm not saying he's like going to be, going to be fixed, but I think they want to find out if they can fix him with different coaching.
I think they want that's going to salivate over the job, so that way he'll be saying yes to everything, whatever they throw at him. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, all right, let's do that. So that's what they're turning into right now.
I do think it is the worst job in the NFL right now.
Okay.
With everything going on, with the salary cap, with the way it is, with the lack of young talent on the team, with the quarterback situation being as untenable as it is, either way you go, you're not going to get it right.
Mm-hmm. It's going to take you a little bit of time. So.
I wouldn't want to go there at all.
Yeah, they'll probably be the last team to get a coach. Could see it happening.
Yeah, but to be fair, guys, like when Peterson went there, nobody else wanted to go there either. He was the last guy to go. Like nobody else wanted to go there. Like
kind of a shocking hire too after all the people that went through there. So
should not be a surprise that they're going to have trouble finding a guy who wants to go. At some point, opportunity is what it is. But do you want to be associated with a disaster? Do you want that on your resume?
Yeah.
So. Getting to the games from yesterday, the Green Bay Packers, the one seed in the NFC, have advanced to the NFC title game. A 32-18 win over the Rams. They will host the winner of today's Saints-Buccaneers game. I brought this up to Ryan Havermail, and he yelled at me that, it's a good thing that the Packers drafted Rodgers' replacement because he looks like he's slowing down. They look like an absolute machine. It just... the Rams had an excellent defense coming in. Jalen Ramsey did not have a very good game. They pretty much, for the most part, scored at will. They really didn't have a lot of pushback from the Rams.
Little annex before the game, too. Devontae Adams had to be separated from Jalen Ramsey after talking smack to him in the warm-ups.
That's what they do.
It probably was the other way around.
Yeah.
Good.
Jalen Ramsey is a very, very interesting trash talker, which is always entertaining.
Love him, but... Again, I wasn't surprised that the Packers won. I am surprised. I think it was by this many points, to be blunt. And they're going to host the title game next week. What else can you say other than who's going to stop this team? They've really been very good all year long, and the defense has been bend but not break. They haven't been elite, but they've been good when they've had to be. And if nothing else, it's Aaron Rodgers, and he's just going to beat you on his own. And I don't know that either of the two teams they could play next week are built to stop them.
Elite defenses are a thing in the past. I think we talked about this before. You just have to be good enough to make a critical stop here and there to win the game. I mean, when you're looking at the Packers 32, Rams 18. I mean, the Rams were in striking distance for a little bit there. A couple of drives they fell short. I mean, they score one touchdown. It's a whole different ball game. So, although I'm not going to say it was a dominant performance. I mean, it could have been a lot worse if Rodgers hit a couple open receivers, and when he did hit the receivers, I think there was a couple big drops that cost him short touchdowns too. But watching Valdez-Scantling drop balls is pretty much commonplace nowadays. So. There's over a $400,000 bet on the Packers -6.5. I mean, that showed you some pretty big confidence in them. It's not much of a surprise. Just wish it was a little bit better game. Not many big plays. I mean, we're talking about Zaire Alexander and Jalen Ramsey's, great matchups and everything like that, but Cooper Kupp was out too. I mean, that really hurts. I mean, golf was a lot healthier. They ran the ball well, but Cooper Kupp kind of runs that offense a little bit and is like this security blanket for golf. So I mean, I don't think enough was being made about him not being there last night. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the short little white receiver, doesn't get any damn respect. And Matthew Berry calls him my little Cooper Kupp, as a little disrespectful as you can be. But I think that was a big loss there. I mean, so Packers got through. They survived, and that's the name of the game. And Aaron Jones needs to be mentioned too. He hit a solid game against that defense. So whoever wins out of this Tampa Bay New Orleans game it's going to be an epic battle. And if it is Tampa Bay that goes on to play the Packers might have some revenge for them, because that the last time they played, the Buccaneers embarrassed them.
I hate the Packers. I really do.
Let's just come out with that, Anthony.
But I'm not stupid.
So how do you really feel though? Like,
yeah, but I'm not stupid either. I bet the Packers, so I knew what was going to happen. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just playing out of his mind. He's like, I don't know. He's just out there having fun. He's just slinging the ball around. He makes it look so easy. It gets me so mad. But yeah, I mean, I think the Packers are going to the Super Bowl. I really do. I hate to say it. It's just it would have to take like an incredible defensive effort to slow them down and to stop them. And I don't see it happening.
I mean, to Frank's point, though, I mean, I don't know in what way, because I don't think Rodgers is going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive line is so good. I mean, he sits back there. I mean, the only issues, like Tony said, is that you guys scam this dude dropping balls. I mean, he's got a tight end with 11 touchdowns. I mean,
a tight end out of nowhere too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as if like this is like some elite talent.
10 catches last year, but 11 touchdowns this year.
Yeah,
I mean, Devontae Adams. I mean, I saw today. It's plus 29.5 units, scoring first this year. So he's scoring first at a ridiculous rate. And it just makes me so mad. But I think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you guys talk about Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about Devontae Adams a little bit. Wide receiver who missed 3 games this year, ended up the season with 18 touchdowns. I mean, he's on a ridiculous pace too. And, he's got a touchdown yesterday, and he's the kind of guy that it's coming. You still can't cover.
Stop it. Yeah,
no,
Rodgers.
So, I mean, that's the one in itself. Plus, Aaron Jones is having a great year in itself. He's running the ball really well. And Jamal Adams yesterday, I mean, he had a monster game too yesterday. So, you try to stop this team, and they just keep coming at you in waves. I mean, I think
the two teams that are left that have an opportunity to beat them, which is your Bucs and the Saints. When you look at how the recipe is to beat up on the Packers, is you have to run them over, you have to control the ball. Yeah. They're not good against the run. It's very simple. I don't know if the Buccaneers, I mean, they've run well in certain games. Other games, it's not really the focal point of their offense. Saints the same way. I mean, you have Kamara. Murray's out. So whoever matches up with the Packers, they're going to have to commit to the run. They're going to have to commit to the power run game, and they have to control the ball. That's a simple recipe to beat the Packers.
And Tony, they got to go there. Don't forget that. You got to go to Green Bay and play. So
the frozen tundra
against you.
Yeah, you got
Tom Brady and Drew Brees in the cold. I mean, Brady. I trust Brady more in the cold than Brees.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean that too. I mean,
You have to come out.
tough.
You have to come out to the Packers and really go old time football, smash them in the mouth, and get them off balance. That's probably the way you got to do it. And the Bucks, to your point, Tony. Yeah, I mean, everybody could say, yeah, the Bucks handled them during the season on Monday Night Football, down there, or Sunday Night Football down there in Tampa. Listen, I'm a little worried if they go back up there because Green Bay is going to have a revenge factor for them. And I don't know if the Bucks could pull off what they did to the Packers last time. They have to come out, hit them in the mouth, slow them down, get to Rodgers, move him off. I mean, a lot of things have to happen to slow this Packers team down. They're playing on all cylinders right now. And the Bucks or Saints go up there next week. It's going to be very, very interesting. Either one of those teams are going to have to play a 100% perfect game against this high-powered Green Bay team who comes at you from every angle.
Aaron Rodgers ties Joe Montana with 12 for the second most playoff games with 250-plus yards and 2 passing touchdowns or more in NFL history. Green Bay 18-5 in playoff games at Lambeau. The only 2 teams with more wins in one stadium are the Niners at Candlestick, and they're not going to win any more there, and New England at Gillette Stadium. They also might not be winning any more there for quite some time. So, they're very good at home. It's a tough ask for both Southern teams coming into a what should be a cold, miserable Green Bay, Wisconsin winter game.
Isn't it funny? I'm sorry.
Aaron Rodgers moved up to 11-8 in the playoffs yesterday.
And isn't it funny? We all talked about the draft, how they drafted Jordan Love. We thought it was a dumb mistake, but they actually kicked Aaron Rodgers in the ass, and he's pretty much showing them that they didn't need to.
So I had this conversation with Hav last night. It can still have been a mistake and just not come back to hurt them. That's all.
Yeah.
These are not, they don't have to be the same thing. And his was, well, I trust Goot, which is, the GM. And that's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. All I've ever said was, to me.
Is he defending the Jordan Love pick?
Well, no, he's saying, well, it's worked out, so I don't care. And that's all I'm saying is, to me, and I've said this from the jump with this, if I have Aaron Rodgers for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, don't care. I am solely focused on those 1, 2, and 3 years. I'm not looking at year 4 because I don't care. I'm trying to win right now. It's my same idea as why I don't think Tampa Bay should have kept their number 1 pick this year, because I have 2 years to win with Tom Brady. I don't care about year 3. Year 3 is a whole different solar system from what I'm at right now. I have a very finite window. So
you're not going to know if that Green Bay pick worked out until Love starts playing.
No, I could. But you knew that moment when as soon as he said Jordan Love, you were getting nothing out of that pick this year. Nothing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has not come back to bite them, to their credit.
Unless they win the Super Bowl this year, and Rodgers.
Yeah, and God bless them. Apparently, they're good enough. They can get nothing out of their first round pick and go to a Super Bowl. That's great. Yeah. That's fantastic. But it could have been a waste, and it just didn't hurt them. To me, I don't think that they have to be in the same sense. Right. So I will stay. And again, for your team, Mike, I don't think they should have kept their 1 this year. I think they should have traded their 1 this year.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So
I said that. Buffalo Bills back to the AFC title game with a 17-3 victory over the visiting Baltimore Ravens. They will face the winner of the Browns Chiefs. If it's Cleveland, it's in Buffalo. If it's KC, it's in KC. Unfortunately, I think the story of this game isn't so much what Buffalo did, but what Lamar Jackson didn't do as the opposing quarterback. He ended up getting a concussion in the third quarter, missed the most of the second half here. But for critics of Lamar Jackson's ability to throw the football, nothing that you saw yesterday is going to quell any of that. There was a joke I saw on Twitter is that they should draft a quarterback for passing situations. I'm not a huge fan personally of quarterback designed runs. I just never have been. I don't really like that. I think that you can use that to your advantage the way like a Rodgers does when the play breaks down. You can get something out of it because they're respecting your arm. But if you're Baltimore and you run this, you just run the ball. I don't know that you've done enough that someone's got to fear your downfield passing game. And eventually that makes you extremely one-dimensional. And there's not that many teams in the league that won't beat a one-dimensional team in a postseason game. To take nothing away from Buffalo.
I think that pick killed Lamar. I mean, that's a whole different game that they score there. So.
Pick 6 for 103, obviously it kills them.
Rook hit for Krevin. I don't mean the one this year. I mean the one next year. That player is unlikely to do a whole lot for Tampa Bay next year with the last year they have Tom Brady.
They had to keep Tom Brady upright, and that's why they made that pick.
Yeah.
They had to boost that offensive line.
He's referring to what Brian said about Brian didn't specify trading next year.
This upcoming
Yeah, Brian meant trading next year's pick. Obviously, the worst pick was a very good
next
pick.
year.
Yeah.
I think to them the value they're going to get while they have Brady is probably very limited. I'd rather go get a guy I can use right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tony, your thoughts here.
Well, listen, when you're talking about Jackson and everything like that, I mean, I just don't understand why people are so quick to vilify this kid. Obviously, he's not a good passer right now. He's MVP of the league, though, right? And what you said is accurate, but you're talking about in generality. You're not actually talking about what specifically happened in last night's game. So if you talk about last night's game, what happened in last night's game? You had 4 missed field goals, 2 missed field goals by the best kicker in NFL history. Okay? Do people not realize it was 15 to 25 mile an hour wind, that these quarterbacks couldn't throw the ball downfield? Lamar Jackson actually had a higher yards per average than Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't throw the ball well at all last night. He had like 200 yards. It was an absolute mess. The biggest thing that I seen from this game, which it was a shoe mistake. You talk about one-dimensional teams. Buffalo Bills are a one-dimensional team.
They threw the ball.
All they do was throw the ball.
Yeah,
they threw the ball. They didn't really throw the ball effectively. Baltimore, all they should be doing is run the ball. The problem I saw last night more than anything is that they did not commit to running the ball like they should. For whatever reason, they did very few Lamar Jackson designed runs. He should have had almost 20 carries last night, especially in those weather conditions. And when he was scrambled, he kept the play alive. He had J.K. Dobbins in the hands twice for huge drops. Drops.
Yeah, he was on his way in the end zone at one time, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, obviously, Lamar Jackson has a world of improvement to do as a passer, but as an offensive weapon in the NFL, he's elite. He's elite, and I think they needed to utilize that more. That picks. Listen, that was a great defensive scheme on that pick 6. Huge run back. I mean, that obviously changed the whole tone of the game. But I think that we need to be a little bit more. Kind of wait and see. I mean, the guy's only in his third year. He's already has an MVP under his belt. I mean, you can't put everything on him and his shoulders. And it's almost like the Ben Simmons thing too. It's like everybody expect these guys to be great. Like, oh well, Ben Simmons doesn't shoot threes. That's why they lost last night. Not really. I mean, how about everybody else? Doing their job. So. If you're looking at a traditional quarterback in that offense, does it work? I don't know. I mean, J.K. Dobbins is pretty effective in it, but Lamar Jackson only 9 carries and not a lot of them designed. I think that was really what let Buffalo off the hook there. I mean, if we talked about the Packers and earlier, if a team like the Ravens played the Packers, they should run the ball 50 times. I mean, I don't understand why it is, and especially with that weather last night too. It was supposed to be a blizzard that never came, which I kind of wanted to see some snow football. I mean, that would have been really fun, see some snow football. But I mean, Josh Allen had averaged under 5 yards a pass for a full passing team. I mean,
he was 23 of 37 for 206. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, neither completed for a great percentage, and nobody really drove the ball downfield because of the weather conditions, and it's just one of them ugly football games in Buffalo in January. But hey, it was fun.
Ryan Leach,
made
the adjustments in the second half.
I had this game all pegged wrong. I mean, I had the Ravens in the under. I really felt good about the Ravens going into this game this week. Thought they were going to run the ball, keep it away from Josh Allen. And like Tony said, the weather, I saw the weather was going to be iffy. I really felt good about the Ravens. And I felt the same way Tony felt. I felt like the offensive coordinator just went away from his game, didn't pound the ball like I expected. And I think it put a lot of pressure on Lamar to make special plays. And I know he missed one play. He overthrew Brown on that deep play in the third, and it was just a tough game. I expected it to be a little bit different, and obviously wasn't.
Just
And
got
you brought up a good point about talking about the offense coordinator. Greg Roman has shown this time and time again in big games. His game plan just
Yeah.
seems off.
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
mean, when they played the big matchup in Kansas City in the beginning of the year, I was scratching my head like, what is he doing? Like he's adding more play action pass in there for trying to go to the deep third and deep second part of the field, which doesn't make any sense in that thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I guess I think he just tries to outsmart himself instead of do what they're good at, and to have Mark Ingram inactive in this game, and let's take the teams out of it, right? When you're looking at this game, take the teams out of it, like the player personnel. You have a team that's a power running team against a team that's a complete passing team. The Ravens have a much better defense than the Bills do. Bills' running defense isn't very good. Their pass defense isn't too bad. But when you couple that up, and then you look at it like it's going to be a horrible weather game. You have to say, listen, the running team should just run the ball and control and make plays with it. And they didn't really do that. They tried to get too cute, and it cost them.
Yeah, I really felt really good about that game, and I the way it played out was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, they both got out of what they do strength-wise. They got out of what they do in that game, which was kind of weird. And if you had the under in that game, which I guess a lot of people did, you went to bed by halftime because nobody could really do anything until really anywhere. I mean, nobody was doing anything. The weather had a factor and stuff, and guys were getting out of their systems. The kickers, I couldn't believe with that win, we're missing stuff, though, as good as they are. It was a very odd game. And with Lamar going out with that concussion, that kind of sealed their fate, the Ravens, right there. Even though they were moving the ball down the field at the end, you knew they weren't really going to do anything with everything going on. So
I just feel like we haven't seen the Bills play that great this postseason. I mean, they've won both games, and I'm not gonna. You should never apologize for winning.
I mean,
there's like
season.
2 more gears this team can get to. Like I and maybe some of that was the weather yesterday. I'm not ruling that out, but
Ravens defense is good. Ravens defense,
is
legit.
It is.
I mean, they
very
matched
good.
up.
I'm not disputing that. But I just feel as though
I thought the Ravens matched up really well with the Bills. Like, can't tell you, you know what I mean? It's just one of those games that one or two plays, and that's a different game. Like a lot of NFL games, you know.
And the weather really helps out the Ravens defense against the Bills too, especially when they want to push the ball downfield and stuff like that. And their offense didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But if the Bills expect to win next week, assuming it's in Kansas City, which we'll talk about, they're going to need like 2.5, 3 gears higher than what we've seen this postseason. I just think
I think their offense will be able to eat against Kansas City compared to the Ravens. I mean, I could see that. So, you're right. They need another gear against KC. That's for sure.
Their performance last couple of weeks again, and you can make the case they should have lost to the Colts.
Although for some odd reason or some reason we're not thinking that the Browns win this game, the Browns head into Buffalo. That's going to be very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
About long-suffering franchises. It'd be great.
That would
TV.
be cool to see. It really would.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool to see.
And that is the game at 3:05. The Browns visit the Chiefs. The Chiefs are laying around 10 in a playoff game, over under 57. It is the number 1 passing offense in the NFL against the number 3 rushing offense. The last time these two teams played was in November of 2018. The Chiefs won that game 37-21, and their leading rusher was a familiar face, Kareem Hunt, who they're going to see today on the opposite side of the ball. Guys, look, I've been pounding the drum that I don't think there's a team in football that can beat the Chiefs in a playoff game. I would be a complete fraud if I got off that point today that they're finally playing a playoff game. But while Cleveland is somewhat built a way that I think is helpful to beat a team like Kansas City in that you can run the ball and control clock and keep Mahomes off of the field, I just don't know that they have enough. And I don't think that Cleveland is going to be able to score in bunches. I mean, you're not going to see, self-inflicted errors like the Steelers had a week ago by this Chiefs team. So, no one's going to throw the ball over the quarterback's head. No one's going to be up. No one's going to allow 28 points in the first quarter. At least it's not going to be the Chiefs. It might be the Browns. it's not an ideal matchup. My larger fear for the Browns, and is going to speak to Kevin Stefanski and his coaching ability, which coming into the year I was not high on. He's really proved me wrong on that one. They need to definitely not walk into this game with a sense of happy to be here because they finally got a win for the Browns. That would be the worst thing possible for them. The Chiefs, even in their run last year, they did go down early in games at home last year in the playoffs. Now they came back to win both of those games, but they were down
24-0. 24-0.
And that doubt was back here. We're watching it. We're like, what the hell's going on? At some point, KC can't go to the wells too much with that either. Like they need to actually like play like they are the Chiefs. So I think they win the game. I think 10's a high number for a playoff game, but we've obviously seen it.
When you look at this game, I think this is if you're a Kansas City fan, you can't feel confident at all. And the Kansas City's played down to their opponent. I mean, they for pretty much all season, except I think a couple blowouts here and there against like the Jets or something like that. But the Cleveland Brown gets back their offensive line today. Bottanino's back off the COVID list. 3 All-Pros on that line, 2 All-Pro running backs. Well, Kareem Hunt's not an All-Pro running back, maybe All-Pro kicker, but not a running back, and not this season. But he has the talent that you can imagine. There should be no reason at all that the Browns do not run the ball 30 to 50 times in this game. They should be. They're going to be in 2 tight end set all day with Hooper and Njoku. Play action, dink,
screens
on the ball. Absolutely make a play here or there. Keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. And I think that's the easy recipe that they need to follow, and it's just the execution on it. The Chiefs are the worst team in the red zone about allowing touchdowns. Browns are the 3rd best in the NFL when they get in the red zone about scoring touchdowns. So the Browns are going to have to continue that trend and turn that 7 into touchdowns. Can't settle for 3. They need to get to 7. If this game is a 10-point game to 14-point game, I don't care. If I'm the Browns, I might be running the ball 4 times and just go 10 yards a clip. Keep the ball out of Baker Mayfield's hands as much as possible. And don't allow him to make the errors that everybody's afraid that he makes eventually. One of the issues, though, is the Browns' defense. Denzel Ward coming off, with COVID, they had a lot of other issues there. It's just a poor defensive matchup for the Browns against the Kansas City offense. They like to do a lot of cover 4, a lot of cover 2. What does Kansas City do? They love to go deep, and they can go over that cover 2, hit the seam, and there's nobody, putting the ball on a string than Patrick Mahomes. So if that safety misses that tackle, Tyreek Hill is going to be eating early. But the biggest thing is those cover 2s and covers 4, they just allow Travis Kelce to feast. I mean, that's where they want to live. So Kelce is going to have a huge game, a huge game. I think I'm on his over. I think it was 80 some yards.
95.
What is it now?
It's 95.
It was like 86 a couple days ago when I got in on it. But yeah,
95 right now.
If it wouldn't surprise me if he had $150. To be honest with you, because they're going to have to be rolling safeties over to help, and they don't really have anybody who can match up with them. Myles Garrett's going to have a huge day. Huge day. He's going to have to be having Patrick Mahomes running for his life. But Patrick Mahomes is also one of the best in the NFL throwing off the run too. So, I mean, good luck with that. Best case scenario is Browns make this an ugly game, run game, ball control, eat up clock. I'm going to take the Browns to be able to execute that plan into 10 points. And I'm going to be cheering for them too.
Yeah, 10 is so high in a playoff game. And, I mean, the Chiefs have not been blowing anybody out. They've kind of been sleeping, coming back at the end. And you don't know what kind of Chiefs team you're going to get right now. They're coming off a bye. Really, this game, if anything, for the Browns solely relies on Baker Mayfield. I mean, for them to win this game, he's going to have to make plays. They can run the ball all they want. It's going to have to come down to this guy making a couple plays. third down conversions, fourth down conversions. It's going to have to make some plays to beat the Chiefs. It's plain and simple. And I don't see it. I'm not picking Baker Mayfield over Patrick Mahomes right now. I do see a cover though. I don't. This shouldn't be 10. It's kind of scary why it's 10. Maybe they know something we don't know. But yeah, if for the Browns to pull this off, it's solely going to rely on Baker Mayfield and making plays.
Well,
Andy Reid off the bye, 8-3. Andy Reid against the spread off the bye, 6-5.
Cleveland's not lost a game by more than 10 since week 6, and the Chiefs have not won a game by more than 10 since week 8. So
yeah,
from that standpoint,
but why is it 10?
Because I think they're protecting themselves on the Chiefs. I think that's where the money's going to go.
Yeah, public money will be on the Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, I haven't looked that up yet, but if I had to guess, I'm guessing by game time, most of the public money would be on the Chiefs.
The key to this game to me, again, and I do think the Chiefs win. Cover is a whole different story. I think it's a lot of points. I think the Chiefs find a way to win this game because they're that good. But the key to me is that the Browns need to win the turnover battle. When they have when they're at least tied or better in turnovers, they are 11-0. They are 1-5 when they turn the ball over more than the other team. And in a game like this, when you're going to be kind of behind the 8 ball to begin with, I think you desperately need to not give the ball to Mahomes more by turning it over, God forbid, on your side of the field. And if you're on their side of the field, you better keep up with them and score points. So I don't think that the turnovers are huge. I mean, Baker cannot throw picks here. They can't fumble the ball. Any way the Browns have to a victory starts with not turning the ball over and hopefully creating some on the other end.
I think you're definitely going to have to slow the Chiefs down to have any kind of shot. You're not going to be able to get in a shootout with them and win this game, which I think 57 is a little bit high too. I know what Tony's going to say, but I kind of like the under a little bit in this game because I think the only way the Browns can cover that number is they're going to have to slow down the Chiefs a little bit and try to, score enough points to just stay within that margin. I think they can do that today. I don't know if I would totally be on board with Cleveland, but I think what Anthony said, I think 10's a lot for a playoff game, especially the way the Browns have been playing. They haven't really gotten torched by anybody this year. They've kept a lot of games close, and this could even be a back to recover game. So.
They got torched early on. I mean, they fixed
early
it.
on, but not near the back end of the year they haven't. So
yeah.
It's all about mindset, I think, in this game. Browns get down 14 points quick. They can't panic. They just got to keep running the ball, running the ball.
Key for them today. They got to be able to on the ball.
Let me ask you this. If you're the Browns, you win the coin toss, you take the ball or you defer?
Sure. Set a message. Yep. Take it right down the field and score. You could set the tone right away.
You don't want to be behind this team.
No, because you get down, Anthony, at the half, you're in a lot of trouble.
I've personally always been a defer guy. I've always been a defer guy. That's just my
not in this case. Not in this case.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
But if you have a lead, then you can just run the ball just because you can run the ball. You're not worried about putting up points that quickly because you're not behind. So I think that it is crucial to get ahead.
If you're big at halftime, that's a big mental thing and going into the second half. If you're close to halftime, you got all the momentum going in the second half.
If you win the toss and you take the ball, you put so much onus on that first drive. If you go 3 and out on that first drive, you just proverbially fucked yourself.
True.
So you need, if you kick off and you get the ball, you need to go. That drive has to be a scripted, executed, amazing drive. I mean, you can't go 3 and out. You can't go 4 and out.
I agree, Tony. You really got to throw them off balance so you can take some shots downfield. You got to get, run the ball down the throat, then set up the pass. You got to really make that first drive count, and that's got to be your best drive of the year. Take it right down, jam it down their throat in their stadium, and that sets the tone for the game that we're not backing down from you guys.
Just got to stay with the game plan.
Yep.
So, as a group,
I'll go Cleveland.
To win?
Do you guys like the under as well, or do you know over?
I can't bet the under in this game. I could see all kinds of stuff going on in this game.
And Cleveland's been in shootouts with Baltimore, who has a much better defense than Kansas City.
I mean, I could see a defensive touchdown. Like I could see a lot of stuff going on in this game.
Okay.
I'm taking Cleveland in the points.
Yeah, I'm taking the points too. I mean,
but
what?
Who wins?
Give me the Browns.
Wow.
Browns outright.
Wow, on the money line. Look at you. Wow. I think Kansas City pulls it out at the end.
All right. I can't. I'm not picking against Kansas City. I'm
You
sure.
gotta have balls, you know.
I hear you.
Once you drop, you will.
And then when they get cut off, you don't have them anymore. So I will go with.
It's no fun for all us to take the all Kansas City and the obvious pick. I mean, come on now. You know, one of us has to go out on a limb.
I like the prop. I like Kareem Hunt to score today. Plus 145 they got it at. I think he scores against his old team.
Yeah.
I take Kareem Hunt to score 2 touchdowns.
Okay. I like that.
That would definitely support your Browns win for sure. Couple guys going to be up past their bedtime for a 6:40 start. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are laying 3. The over-under is 52. The Saints have won both games this season by a score of 34-23 and a score of 38-3. I think we all remember that destruction on a Sunday night. Everyone says that it's so hard to beat a team three times in one season. However, the numbers actually bear out quite the opposite. Teams that sweep the season series are 17-7 in the third game at home in the playoffs. That is a 71% clip. So, history says that the Saints should win this game. But at the same time, history also says that Tom Brady's never lost 3 games to one team in his career. So, I guess it depends which side of the coin you elect to take. Mike, I'm going to go to you first because you have somewhat of a rooting interest in this game, I gather.
A little bit. Yeah, no, I not just because I'm a fan. I just like everything rolling forward for the Bucs right now. They've played better on offense. They're really, been putting up some points and stuff. Defense, the secondary is going the other way a little bit. Their secondary's gotten beat up a little bit with the rookies back there and everything, but that'll come around eventually in the upcoming years. But in this game, listen, they're going to have to keep up with New Orleans, and I think they can do that today. This is going to be a high-powered game. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. It's going to be back and forth. Could be the last team that touches the ball. It's going to be the team that wins this. I like the Bucs in this game, getting the points. I do, getting 3 points. It's gone down from 4. People are on my side as well. I think the Bucs are seeing a lot of film, especially Brady. Brady doesn't want to lose, and he's checked up. A lot of film on this game. A lot of film on the last 2 games. What they've done wrong, especially in that game, they got absolutely destroyed in every aspect on Monday Night Football with. I don't think that happens again tonight. I think it's going to be a close game, back and forth. I'll take the Bucs with 3 points, and I like the over in this game.
But to be fair, Mike, I think if we had this conversation in 8 hours and the Bucs lost by 2, you're not going to give a shit about the point spread.
No, I think the Bucs can definitely pull this game off. Money line bet you want, win or lose. I like the Bucs in this game to win this game, to take down the mighty New Orleans Saints, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, though.
Jacob asked if the Bucs could slow down that pass rush. Both times they played, Brady was under a lot of pressure. Tony, the last time these 2 teams played was Antonio Brown's debut in a Bucs uniform, and things have changed significantly since that game. He's really carved out his role. In the offense. He's given them a legitimate, what is it, 4th passing option? I mean, it's crazy how the talent they have on the outside.
You want a good prop bet? I think Antonio Brown to score today is a good one as well.
Plus 185.
Yep. Definitely a good one to have. Yep.
Bucs defense ranks 6th, Saints defense ranks 4th. So it's funny that we're talking about a high scoring game in this one, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually
like what I think.
I actually feel it's going to be an under game. I feel like it could be a defensive struggle. I like the Saints defense against Brady. I think that's the Tampa Bay's probably one of their weakest points is their offensive line, their interior. And this is going to be a tough game. I like the Saints. I'm going to roll with the Saints. I just think they're a little too much for the Bucs. They have their number.
Quick, the Bucs bring in the 28th ranked rushing offense in the league up against the 6th ranked rushing offense. The one thing the Saints can do that I think the Bucs will struggle with is killing the clock. So I think that if the Bucs do have some sort of a lead in this game and they're just trying to close it out, Breeze will have his opportunity because I don't have a lot of faith that they're going to be able to just continually run the ball, kill the clock, and keep them off the field.
So you're saying that Breeze is going to be able to run the ball? You say, is that what you?
No, I'm saying that the Bucks, if they have a lead in the fourth quarter, for example, if they're trying to close this out or just trying to kill some clock at any point in the game, they don't run the ball effectively well. Against the rest of the league. So if you're at a point where you have a 4-point lead or a 3-point lead in the fourth quarter, and you're just trying to run this down, I don't know that they're going to be that successful in doing it. I don't think they're going to be in a situation where they can do, what a team like the Vikings can do, is hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook and just let him do his thing. They're not really built to do that.
I got you. But you know what? If the Bucks get a lead, you still have to look back at what they did in New England as far as running the ball. You had guys like Blunt back there and other guys like James White. They weren't really your traditional running backs, but what they did do is they used that short passing game very effectively. Cameron Brate, Rob Gronkowski. Gronkowski didn't even have a catch last week. Cameron Brate just went off. Gronkowski might have 6 catches today just to switch it up a little bit. But Leonard Fournette's going to be getting the lion's share of the work today. And as you've seen, I mean, the Bucks throughout the season have not been a great running team, but when they've really committed to it and applied it, they've actually had some decent success. So I think Fournette will be able to close the game out. Tampa Bay, is really on the upswing as far as their offense too. I mean, Antonio Brown's been, night and day from when he started. I don't think Brady is forcing the ball to anybody now as he seemed to when they first kind of got together. So he's kind of spreading the ball out well. When you're looking at New Orleans, I mean, Taysom Hill's out and Lamar Murray's out. There goes their power running game. Right, they still have Kamara. Kamara had over 20 carries last week, which is a little bit high for him. Normally, and not many receptions. If the Saints can get Kamara out in space against Devin White, because Devin White is back this week, that's going to be a matchup problem for Tampa Bay, because Devin White is not very good as far as coverage. He's great in every other aspects of things, but coverage is his weak point. So look for them to try to exploit that. You're also looking at a situation where without Taysom Hill and that kind of perk in their offense, they leaned on, like, even when Breeze was healthy, he was a part of their offense to kind of keep teams off balance. That's not there no more. Does Drew Brees right now, a guy who seems to struggle to throw the ball 25 yards downfield, does he have the ability to actually just sit back there and sling it? He pretty much embarrassed the Bucs last time they played, but I think that the more embarrassment was on the Bucs end defensively, because they just sat back there and took it. If the Bucs want to win this game from a defensive standpoint, they got to blitz, they got to attack Brady, they got to keep him off balance, they got to get in his face, they got to play up and beat up Mike Thomas, aka Slant Boy, and they got to really kind of keep the pressure on him like that. Don't get too cute with the defense. Just attack this guy. And make him, make quick decisions, which obviously he's one of the best all time at. But does he still have the arm and the accuracy to pull it off? Which I think is a question mark. You got to make them a very one-dimensional team, I think, and attack. I mean, Shaq Barrett, JPP coming off the edge is going to be king and trying to get key and get that force up the middle. One thing I did see today is today's the first playoff meeting all time between the players ranked first and second in career passing touchdowns, which I thought that was a pretty interesting stat there too. But I don't know how many touchdown passes are going to be thrown in this game. I mean, it's going to be a hard-fought, nasty game. I'm going with Tampa Bay. I'm just going to take Breeze. I mean, I'm going to take Brady over Breeze, to be honest with you, even though Breeze has had his number. Breeze is 5-2 against him career. But I just think that the defensive woes that the Bucs have had get shored up a little bit by putting their captain back in the defense in Devin White. I think that's going to help a lot. And I don't know for sure, but if they don't bring pressure to Breeze like they didn't bring last time, they're just done. If you see teams like your boys last week that like to play zone, pressure. I said that. Exactly. I said that before we did the preview. I said Bears run that trash zone defense, And that's what helps Breeze. You need to attack Breeze. You need to make his life a living hell. And guess what? If Drew Brees gets hurt, there's no Taysom Hill. Jameis time.
They know him well.
Exactly. So my prediction is Jameis Winston throws the game-winning touchdown.
Wow.
For the Bucs going the other way.
And turns to the camera and give Arians the middle finger.
Obviously, you didn't hear what I just said, Galetta. Pay attention.
No.
I said Jameis Winston throws the game-winning touchdown for the Bucs.
Oh,
Pick 6.
Okay. Pick 6. That'd be beautiful.
Yep. Pressure Breeze, knock him out the game. Get Jameis in there. He'll throw a touchdown for the Bucs.
Yeah. Then I can eat a W in front of him.
Here's, yes, there's no correlation, but we said this last week, but we didn't think it was going to matter. The Saints have a propensity in these games, in the playoffs, in that building, to have very, very bad things happen to them. So, you kind of just
that was only in Philly.
Yeah, you kind of wonder, what's in store today? Is it going to be is it Breeze gets hurt and Winston has to go in? I mean, is it some ridiculous call? Is it just like these? It's the city of people that wanted to file a lawsuit against the NFL for the Rams game. It's
I root for crazy,
right? Tucker, you got the right quarterback wearing pewter in there for when you have when you want rule changes where some craziness happen. But like I said, there's a great comment that Daniel Tosh says about New Orleans. It says if any talking about Hurricane Katrina, if any city needed a bath, it's New Orleans. And I think the Bucs go in there. Tom Brady once again adds misery to that city. And they could all get drunk on Bourbon Street.
Okay, so this is a two-part question. Who do you think has a better chance to beat Green Bay, and who do you think Green Bay would rather see, if any?
Well, I think Green Bay would probably rather see
Tampa.
No, I'd say New Orleans, just for the fact that with the injury history, if the injuries that New Orleans has right now with Murray and Taysom Hill. I'm very, very skeptical about this offense with just Drew Brees in there, to be honest with you. I think if you look at Zaire Alexander matching up against Mike Thomas, I think that's a good matchup for them. New Orleans, are they going to be committed to the run? I don't know. And I think that defense that's been a little successful sometimes of the Saints, I think Aaron Rodgers could exploit. The Bucs already kind of went in there and took care of them, and you have your revenge factor and whatnot, and how big that plays. But at the same time, Aaron Rodgers had his worst game of the season, and Aaron Rodgers actually quit in that game. That was probably the worst performances by a Hall of Fame great quarterback that you could imagine. I think they were up. What was they up 10-0, and Aaron Rodgers. Remember that was Aaron Rodgers doing the Key and Peele celebration or something like that, and the next thing you know, he's on the sideline pouting or anything like that. It was a bad look, and I think that dominance. Revenge, but if you got to ask me if I want to face Tom Brady in the playoffs, no, thank you.
Right.
And in the Saints outdoors in the cold weather, I mean, historically they're not the same team. So if you're the Packers, you want to play the Saints, definitely.
I agree because I think your offense is good enough to score on anybody. I don't think it really matters what defense you're playing.
Yeah.
So, well, kids, that wraps up our preview of Sunday Divisional NFL with a look back at Saturday, which means that at the end of the night, there will only be 3 football games left in the entire year.
Real quick, we didn't mention something about Tampa Bay. I think. Go
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Who's the number 1 ranked run defensive in the NFL? Tampa Bay. Yeah, Tampa Bay. That's big. That's big in the playoffs. That's big.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but part of that too is, their offense has been really good. They've been kind of getting ahead in games too. It does make your opposition.
It could skew the stat,
Yeah.
But
my big example that's always been the Eagles that went to the Super Bowl that year. Their run defense was actually piss poor, but no team was trying to run the ball when they were down 21-0 in the first quarter.
No, right, it's skewed, but I don't think that was really. I don't think that is.
No, it's not like just saying as an example. They have
I don't think that was the reason this year.
Kevin,
I think the
appreciate the kind word. We always appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Kevin.
And good luck to your Buccaneers today. You definitely have a fan on your side, at least one.
At least one.
You can tell.
All dogs today. Browns and Bucks. Let's go.
Browns and Bucks. I like it.
Mike, close it out.
Guys, thank you for watching. We appreciate everybody commenting in. We appreciate all you guys watching. For myself, Hamilton Mike Galetta, Ryan the Ranger Retard, Anthony Emilio, and the infamous Tony Quigley. I'd like to say thank you guys for watching us. We'll see you next time on the Sports Box.
And if your team loses today, Mike, this is going to be you.
Justin Thomas, after his excellent approach shot, ran all the way toward the back of the green for birdie.
Dude, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Well,
I think that'll be a little mild if my team loses today.
At least
That'll
you
be-
didn't
Yeah,
throw
should
the
I-
latest
should I-
video.
I thought you were going to throw the Vita Vey draft up there.
I had that clip somewhere. I got to get that.
That'd been more of that.
He didn't play his recent video. It's not going well for him.
There you go.
Yeah, no.
All right, guys. Enjoy the games. We'll see you throughout the week.
All right, boys.
Enjoy Mark.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.